Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our first ever podcast, which we haven't got a name for yet. You're listening to Daryl and Dan, and this week we're going to be talking about DC and the upcoming Justice League movie.
I thought it was gonna be called the Boo Boo Review or something.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was going to call it the Boo Woo Movie Review because I thought that it rhymes and it sounds quite funny. But yeah, I'm not sure that. I don't know. We've not really decided yet, so it might just be forever. Be known as the unnamed movie review. I'm not sure. But yeah, okay, so I guess the DC run recently started with 2013's Man of Steel, which I enjoyed. I saw it at the cinema. I went in, I don't know, I didn't have sort of massive expectations, I think, going in. I think I'd seen the trailer and I thought it looked better than Superman Returns. But yeah, I came out kind of thinking... I kind of came out of that film exhausted. I thought it was too long, and the destruction at the end of the city was just way too much for me. When I got to that point in the film, especially the build-up to that, because there'd been so much action before, that, end piece of the film, that kind of half an hour of just the city being absolutely demolished... the first time I was watching it, I was just like, I don't want to watch all this anymore. It's just too much.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see it at the cinema?
Yeah, I saw it at the cinema. Like you said because obviously Batman Returns came out quite a while before, didn't it? And
yeah,
I thought it was all. Sorry, what am I on about?
Yeah,
Superman Returns. Yeah, I mean, and I thought it was all right. And it was a bit too sort of light-hearted for me. But when I saw a few reviews before Man of Steel came out, and it got quite decent reviews. So I was expecting it to be quite good, and I know that like the DC films are quite dark, the ones that have been out, like Watchmen and Batman and all that. So I like the dark aspect of DC, so I thought that was going to be good about it. So I went in sort of thinking it's going to be pretty good. I went in with quite high expectations. And yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying about the scene at the end. I think a lot of people say that it does go on for quite a long time. And
I mean,
there's a lot of destruction, and and I think that it just seems to go on, doesn't it? And if you go, I've seen, how long can this go on for?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I've got it on Blu-ray, and if I've watched those scenes, on their own, and on their own, they're amazing. They're really good. But but by the time it gets to the kind of city part, you're already over 2 hours into the film. It's and I don't know.
The thing is, though, I think that the beginning, I love the beginning. Like when you see more of Krypton, obviously his own world, you don't get to see that in any of the previous films. You see it briefly in some of the other, in the first, I think it was the Christopher Reeve one, but you don't get to see a lot of it. I really like that fact that it shows that. Do you know what I mean? I think they did that really well.
See, I was a bit thrown by that when I first saw it, because obviously, growing up with the original Superman films, you see Krypton, it's ice, and then all of a sudden, Man of Steel starts, and you're thrown into this kind of fantasy, almost futuristic sort of world. Yeah,
but I think that's just a different.
I
think it's just a different interpretation, though, isn't it? Because I haven't read a lot of Superman comics and things like that, so I don't really know what Krypton's really supposed to be like. And obviously the interpretation, like you said in the other film, was of it being sort of quite crystally and icy and all that sort of thing. But I don't know how it's supposed to be, really. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like that, or if that's just
So I guess, like you said, there's probably different interpretations of it, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
As it goes through different decades of comics and things, I guess it changes.
And I mean, I don't know if you've read quite a bit of sort of Superman and Batman, haven't you, in the past, and comics and novels and things like that.
A little bit, but from what I've read of it, I read some of the newer New 52 DC comics and things, but from what I've read, a lot of it is just set on Earth. A lot of it isn't, from what I've read anyway, a lot of it doesn't take place on Krypton.
Yeah, so you don't really know what it's supposed to look like really anyway.
Really.
Yeah, so probably I suppose in some of the comics you do, but that's why I think it doesn't matter about that. That's why, it's their interpretation or whatever, and I really liked it. I just like the idea that you saw his their Superman's world and all that sort of thing, and we saw sort of a few animals from his world, and I quite like that. I quite like that, and I think it brought more of a sort of like you said, more of a fantasy sci-fi aspect to it.
Yeah. No, I think it was good. I mean, overall, I think it was quite a good film, and I thought he was I think he's a good choice as Superman.
Oh yeah, I think he is. I agree with that. Yeah, I think.
But I mean, I guess then moving on from the first Man of Steel into Batman versus Superman. I mean, personally, I think they should have done Man of Steel 2. That's what I always assumed was going to happen after I saw the first one. I just thought, oh, there's going to be a sequel to this, just like,
Well, yeah, I did as well, yeah. I mean, I remember when I first heard about Batman versus Superman, I was really surprised. I was like, he hasn't even had a sequel yet, Superman, and, you're going to turn it into Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
I
was really confused. I was like, is this going to be Batman versus Superman? Is this actually Man of Steel 2, but Batman's in there as well?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think the director, I can't think of his name now. Zack
Snyder.
Zack Snyder, that's it. Thanks. Yeah. I think he said, what was he? I think he said that he always planned on doing a Man of Steel 2, or he still wants to do one at the moment.
Yeah,
but then they come out with Batman versus Superman.
I think the reason behind that is because obviously they're trying to rush this Justice League thing. So they had to get that out. It's all about that, really, isn't it? Like if they, like Marvel did it years ago, so they had time to sort of build up to it. It's almost like because DC's only sort of started to, like they brought Superman out, and it's like they want to. I think if Marvel hadn't done it, they would have took their time more. But it's almost like it's a race, so they feel like they have to rush this out because they haven't got all those years to build it up in a way. Do you know what I mean? They want to seem to cram it all and get this Justice League film out now.
Yeah. Because it's almost. I know Marvel have got like these phases that they're doing now. It's like phase 1 with Iron Man and was it Thor in the original and Captain America, and then they go into phase 2. But I don't know if with the original Iron Man they actually had that planned that they were going to be doing. They probably hoped that they would get everyone together to do a big Marvel film with everyone.
Yeah, I'm wondering that. Like from the beginning, because Marvel, they've been bringing films out for years now, haven't they? And from the beginning, I'm just thinking, did they actually have this idea of, it wasn't until a bit later, was it? They incorporated different.
Yeah, it was a long time before they all started kind of being in everyone's films and everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a bit of a shame, really, because I think, I personally, I think that. I think that, Man of Steel, I think it had okay reviews. I'm not sure it fared that well at the box office. But I think that they felt, right, if we don't do a Batman versus Superman movie now, if we release a second Superman film and it doesn't do that great...
No, that's what you mean. Then they wouldn't have any
it's not going to be that likely that they're then going to go on and do a Batman versus Superman film. So I kind of felt like, right, we've got to go with this now to try and do it. And, I just feel like it didn't work. I just felt like that film... I think they should have done Man of Steel 2 and introduced the Bruce Wayne character and maybe kind of teased Batman at the end of it, leading into a Batman vs Superman film. But it was almost like all of a sudden, especially if you watch Man of Steel and then go straight into Batman vs Superman, it's like all of a sudden Gotham exists and it's right opposite.
Yeah, I know.
Superman
I don't hear anything about it before. It's just over the river. Like Gotham,
that's it. And
suddenly there. I didn't know that was there before.
But supposedly he's an older Batman who's always been around, but he's
he's
never
not mentioned him. Do you know what I mean? Never heard of him.
That's it. And
but he's only across the river.
I think there's a lot of problems with Batman versus Superman. When I saw it at the cinema, and I thought there was a few good scenes in it, but I just felt bored when I was watching it. I just didn't think it was that interesting, really. I didn't think the plot was that good, and
I think the plot's a bit sort of all over the place, isn't it? Going back a minute to what you said about making the Man of Steel 2 movie, and it almost feels like I thought that's originally what it was going to be, more, it's Batman versus Superman, but I thought it'd be more of a Superman movie, like you said, but introducing Batman in a way. But it almost seems more of a Batman movie with. If you watch it, it's almost more of a Batman film than a Superman film.
The story revolves around Bruce Wayne and Batman, doesn't it?
And to be honest, I quite like Batman in it. I quite like the way they've done it, done him. Like his suit is different. He's quite a bulky. He's an older Batman. I quite like that actually, and
it's different. It's different to the other Batmans we've seen, I think.
Yeah, and it needed to be, I think, because like obviously the Dark Knight trilogy that was so good, and it's not really that long after, so it's hard to. I thought with Batman coming back already, I was thinking how. You've got to make it quite different to that, because they're such good films, the Dark Knight trilogy, that you have to have a different interpretation of Batman, and I didn't see how they could do it, but when I watched it I thought actually they're doing quite a good job. I think, like I said, I think his suit looks good in my opinion. I quite like the idea, like it's a different style Batman. He's, like I said, he's bulkier, he's an older Batman, and I thought once again with Ben Affleck being cast as him, there's a lot of like people are saying like, oh my,
everyone hated
there's so much negativity about that, and I was just I thought my first reaction was, oh, you're joking, Ben Affleck played Batman.
See, I didn't have that. Like I had again with Heath Ledger and the Joker, maybe like with Ben Affleck when he was cast, I was sort of like, no, I think he's going to do all right, because I feel like I've never sort of disliked him really. I've liked the films that I've seen him in, but recently, especially, I think he's kind of come into his own a bit with, some of the films he's directed and some of the films that he's been in.
I do. I think he's a good director. I do like. He's a good actor, I think, and I think he's in the right film. And he surprised me in this. I thought he was good in the end. I thought I thought he played Bruce Wayne really well. I thought he played Batman well, and I liked him in the end. But I just think that I quite like unknown actors, to be honest. Like when they, Henry Cavill with Superman. I quite like the fact that he was quite unknown, if you know what I mean, and he really suited Superman. And I would have thought with Batman, I wouldn't have minded something like that, like an unknown actor playing him. But in the end, Ben Affleck was quite good actually. But
what do you think about Batman going up against Superman on screen? I know you can get away with that in in comic books and things, but in terms of, well, does that work? Do you think? I wouldn't. Everyone was saying when how is this going to work? How is Batman possibly going to beat him?
Well, obviously, Kryptonite comes into the situation again. That's what you think, and you think, oh, what's the only thing that can beat Superman? Kryptonite. There's nothing else that really could beat him. So that came to my head straight away. I was thinking like, well, how the hell is Batman even going to, beat Superman? Batman's a human, and like Superman's basically a god. He's untouchable. So how,
especially after you see him in Man of Steel, like how powerful they are.
I know. So
you compare the Man of Steel Superman compared to the Christopher Reeve Superman. The destruction, obviously, what they can do now is obviously so much more. But he's like ridiculously powerful.
Well, that's another thing. You've never really seen Superman fight properly before until now, have you? Like until Man of Steel, the film. That's the first time you really in a film seen him fight properly. And maybe that's why he went over the top with the action, because he thought, he'd never seen Superman fight. I want to show how he fights.
I don't know though. You see him fight. Who is it? Nuclear Man in Superman 4. They fight on the moon, don't they? You've seen him.
But that was a bit crap, that film, wasn't it? A bit shitty, that one.
So
I can't even. I remember seeing that years ago, but.
I
used to like that when I was younger, actually. But when you watch it now, you're like,
I did as well. But it's a different class of film, isn't it? Really, it's it's of its age. I guess we'll look back on these ones and it'll be the same. But okay, so I guess all right. Moving on from Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman. So you've not seen Wonder Woman yet?
No, I haven't seen that. No, I've heard really good things about that, and apparently it's supposed to be the best DC film yet. That's probably because it's got a woman in it.
You see, the thing is, when people say it's the best DC, when people say it's the best DC movie, I don't think that's a stretch really, because they're okay. Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman were okay. They weren't amazing. And I like Man of Steel, but I think saying Wonder Woman's like the best DC, I thought it was good, and it probably is it probably is the best one that's come out. But
why do you think that then? Like why? Because obviously
I
Man of Steel.
don't think it would have taken much to have beaten those two. Well,
what I do know about it, I bet any money it's got more comical bits in it, hasn't it? It's more light-hearted. I bet any money it's more light-hearted, isn't it?
Yes, it is more light-hearted, but it didn't feel like a light-hearted film. I didn't come out thinking, that, it was just a different type of film, really. I think, I think the tone of it was just slightly different, and I don't mean that it was, more kind of Marvel and like Spider-Man kind of light. It definitely has got its dark elements and things, and it definitely fits inside the DC world. But no, I wouldn't have said it's not like a comedy. I think there's only a couple of moments in it that are sort of funny, but I don't know. I think they just got the balance right between the story. I think the story was more engaging, and
also, is it more like, it looks quite different? Wonder Woman is the story wise. It's not sort of. It looks like they've. A lot of the superhero films are sort of like, it was always the same sort of similar storyline, isn't it? Like where they. They get some sort of power by accident or whatever. Then they just then the whole sort of. Getting the whole suit thing and then discovering their powers and then all that. It's always that same process a lot of the time. But with Wonder Woman, I suppose they could do a lot of. There's quite a lot in the story that they could do different there. I suppose, isn't there? Like.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing. Like with Wonder Woman, it's more of like an origins film, whereas Man of Steel, it didn't feel like an origins film. I think because we've seen other Superman films before it.
Actually, going back to that comment, because that's another thing about Man of Steel I quite liked that they did was the fact that, like, instead of having to start again, like, from when he came to Earth and going through his childhood and all that sort of thing, he sort of like, it cuts to him straight, he's already grown up, and it does it through flashbacks, doesn't it? Like his childhood and things like that. And, I didn't mind that. I thought it was quite good. I quite like that aspect of it.
I think so, and I mean, Wonder Woman doesn't necessarily. I mean, it does a little bit take you through kind of her discovering her powers, but it doesn't, not in the same sort of sense that the original, like, Sam Raimi Spider-Man goes through, him sort of discovering his powers. It's more, I don't know, the film feels a little bit more fluid than that. It seems to roll through the story a bit better, I think. I think, Wonder Woman, as far as the DC films go, I thought it was quite good. I mean, but you've not seen it yet. Were you not tempted by the cinema, or
Not really. Not really, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I don't know a lot. Once again, I don't know a lot about Wonder Woman, and it's not one of the characters that I really think I really want to. I think I really want to know a lot more about her. If I mean, with Superman and Batman, I really love Superman and Batman, and I thought I really want to see this, but. I will see it. I mean, like I said, I've heard good things about it, and I will see it. But there's been a few times where I've had opportunities to see it, and I just thought, I don't know, really. Like, can I be bothered?
That's it. There's something there about the film. There wasn't enough in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman to draw you into another one. See, and I don't know. If
I'm
that's
not sure if it's that. So I'm not
people,
so interested in Wonder Woman as a character. If you know what I mean. Like, I don't know really because. And there's so many superhero films out at the moment, isn't there? And I'm thinking, like, how different really is it going to be? If I'm not that interested in the character as such, like, I'm thinking, like, I think that's what puts me off in a way. Like, I don't know. I mean, I started watching Thor: The Dark World for the first time today as well. I hadn't seen it before, and that's the same thing with that. Really, for a long time I didn't watch it because I thought, I don't know, am I really going to like this, or I don't know. Really.
Is it going to be different enough for you to warrant 2 hours of watching? Sort of
was
thing?
it just the same old thing again? Like, and
I mean, it's interesting that you were saying about is the character really going to draw you in? Because I think that plays quite nicely into our kind of what our topic of this one was going to be leading up to, which was the Justice League. And I mean, again, just going back to Batman vs Superman, just really quickly before we go to the Justice League, like there's that scene.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Bruce
that.
Wayne.
Just now, was that with the email?
Well, there's this scene where the Flash turns up halfway through the film. He turns up for like 30 seconds, and I was just confused. I was like, okay, look, there's the Flash. And then he's not there. He doesn't appear in the rest of the film, and it's nothing is questioned about it.
Well, I know there's not a lot explained and also that dream sequence. There's not a lot's really explained about that. It just sort of happens.
Not at all.
You don't really know what's going on half the time.
Yeah, and I came out of the cinema thinking, right, okay, hopefully in the next film or the film after that will all be explained. But I don't think that's a good position to leave the audience in, to be honest. Because I was just a bit like. Well, what was that? I don't know if I'm going to remember that scene and what that was about in 2 years' time. When I go and see the Justice League film. Because I can't remember what he said. He says something about something's coming or something.
The thing is, though, like I said, I mean, people that have read, because obviously this is taken from a certain comic, isn't it? This type of Batman, this version of Batman's taken from a certain series of comics, isn't it?
Oh, okay, no, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's actually, the suit, the metal, whatever it is, suit.
Yeah.
That's actually taken from a certain series of comics. So obviously, Zack Snyder's obviously focused on that. There's some other scenes actually as well. When his parents get killed with the gun. Yeah. The actual shot is actually a picture from the comic.
Right.
And
okay.
So I suppose people that are familiar with this series of comics, they would know about that anyway when they watch it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose.
And also people that are familiar with all the whole Justice League thing or whatever, But
the thing is, by doing that, are you alienating the rest of the audience?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But my opinion, this is just me personally, is that when I watch that and I see those scenes, even though I don't understand what's going on, I don't mind that bit of mystery, because I like to try and work stuff out, and after.
But it was impossible to work out though, because it's not nothing's answered in the film.
But then you go to Google after, don't you, and type it in.
Yeah, but I don't think you should have to do that for a film. I don't think a film should make you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It does a lot. There's a lot of unanswered questions in it, especially with those.
And I feel that was an attempt to kind of stuff in the Justice League. Oh, there's more here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I remember that. That's what I was going to ask you. What did you think about, obviously, when you first see them? Doesn't she get an email and she checks the email?
Okay, so we first introduced to, the superheroes by, 10-second clips of her clicking on the people. And, when you think, I mean, Marvel, their films are obviously massive, aren't they? They're the biggest films around at the moment.
Yeah, because they're just basically comedies and everyone loves them.
They've done whole when you think they've done whole films, introducing their characters, and then they've put them together, and in the DC world we get a little clip.
I know. I know what you mean.
It's a shame, really, because I think. I think if they'd have done a Man of Steel 2, or if they'd have done...
How do you think they should have done that? Because obviously... I suppose they shouldn't have just rushed it, really, should they? I suppose they...
That's how it feels. It feels.
Do you reckon they should have had their separate films first before they sort of brought them into it? Or how do you reckon they...
Yeah, I do. I think, I think that's the only way that... I mean, it's not the only way that you can do it. I think if they'd done a Man of Steel 2, they could have introduced Bruce Wayne, and maybe they could have introduced somebody else. If they'd have done a Flash movie alongside of it, they could have somebody else in
I know
that.
What you mean, actually,
I think to have one Superman film and then do Batman versus Superman and stuff all the characters that they're going to have for a Justice League movie into that. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a bit too much, and I don't know. I mean, again. Cyborg, I've never seen. I don't think there's been a film on him.
No,
I don't know
there's been nothing.
I don't know anything about him.
Well, I don't either. Like I said, unless you read the comics, I don't know really anything about him either.
Yeah, so it feels like there's a Justice League film coming out.
There's that scene with him in. He's going or something, isn't he?
Yeah, that's when they're doing the experiments and things on him. But again, is that going to be? Is he going to get his own independent film where you're actually going to then see that?
I bet he doesn't. I bet he probably won't with it. It depends. I think it all depends how well it does, doesn't it? Really, I don't know actually, to be honest.
Well, they're doing. I mean, the Flash, I think, is getting his own movie, and I know Aquaman is as well.
Yeah, that's one. He's probably my favourite, actually. The Flash. I really like the Flash. I'd definitely watch a film with him, and he really interests me. I like his abilities. I like the fact he can travel in time and things like that, and I do like the Flash, actually.
I think that's pretty cool, and you've got different dimensions and things that he can go through.
I'm not sure about who they've cast for him. It's almost like this, from watching the trailers, it's almost like he's the little comical guy they've stuck in there, if you know what I mean. He's the Joker, where I don't think he's actually supposed to be like that, is he? And also, he's supposed to have blonde hair, isn't he?
I think so, in the original. I don't know what it's like in more recent comics.
This is what I was talking to you about before. I'm quite fussy like that. I know a lot of people don't mind, but if I read a book or a comic or whatever, or if someone's supposed to be a certain way, I always like them to look as much as they can as they're supposed to. I'm so fussy like that.
Same. Well, I think it makes sense because that's how you've seen them, isn't it? That's how you viewed them. But I guess they, directors and things come in and they like to put their own style to it and things, which I guess is understandable. But
But it's the fact. Another thing is he's very young. He's looks like a boy in it, doesn't he? Compared to the rest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, when you consider, I mean, I don't know how old Batman's supposed to be in it, but I'm guessing
but because he's supposed to be at the end of his sort of. He's supposed to be an older Batman. He's supposed to have sort of the end of his. Not the end, but I mean, like he's sort of fought most of his enemies, hasn't he? Like, and he's
yeah.
But no, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. No, but I don't know. It's just the what I've seen of the Flash and what I know of him. It doesn't seem to like fit in with what I know, and especially Batman being at the end, an older Batman, and you've got the Flash, which is very young. So like. I don't know really.
But I guess did they for this Justice League? Did they want the kind of older Batman? Who's got all the he's been through a lot and he's got the knowledge and things like that. He's got the wisdom to be able to forge this Justice League and bring these guys together. If he was a younger Batman, I'm not on about
Bat. I like the fact Batman's older. I quite like that. I'm just saying about how the Flash is so young. Is what I mean. Compared to, because if Batman's
how old he
maybe I don't know. Maybe he just looks young, but
maybe I don't know. But they might be going down the whole. He's at college, kind of experimenting with things, and then the accident happens where he's able to do it. I don't know if it's more of like a Spider-Man style story. Where he's that kind of age. I don't know.
But
what about Aquaman?
I don't really know a lot about him. Like, you don't really sort of see him. Like, once again, you don't really sort of from the trailers or anything. You don't really know much about him or like.
Yeah.
One thing I do know is he doesn't look anything like the character again. Really, does he? From what he's supposed to look.
I mean, when I saw him on the thing, the long hair, and I mean, I kind of thought, yeah, okay, that's Aquaman. Did you not think?
Yeah, I know what you mean. He does look, but I mean the hair and the blonde.
But maybe that was just because he was underwater.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose he does look a bit like him, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm happy with the way he looks. I suppose. He looks all right. Yeah, but I just think it's the sort of like you said. It's you get a brief clip in Batman vs Superman, then suddenly there's this trailer with them all in, like and you don't know anything about them really, do you? Like
that's it.
But Going back to the Flash again. Well, sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say I don't know how much time are they going to spend in the Justice League, kind of setting these characters up as well. Because remember,
you've only got
this
a certain,
is going to be the first time we've seen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've only got a certain length for the film. You can't, So I suppose that's why like you said, it would have been better to set them up really with their own films, or whatever, to get know a bit more about them, or at least a few of them, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Wonder Woman's the only one we really know. About. But yeah, going back to the Flash about the comical thing, like I said, he seems like he's supposed to be the Joker in the trailer. It's almost like they've brought that in on purpose, just because the Marvel films are very light-hearted, a lot of them, and comical, and they always get really good reviews, don't they? And it seems that everything needs to be comical these days. It seems to get a good review. It's almost like a superhero film. For some reason, it's got to be a comedy when they're not really supposed to be like that. But then it hasn't got that comical. It's not just them, actually. I've noticed with other films now. If they got even horror films, if they got comical, oh yeah, it's good, amazing, 5 out of 5. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what about it?
But then it's almost like they've brought.
Did that have,
that was quite light-hearted, considering it's supposed to be, a thriller, and it's. Yeah. I mean. I'm in two minds about that, but we'll go back to that another time.
Yeah, I think that's probably one for another. That's a whole topic in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, with the Flash, I just feel that like they've almost made him comical like that, just because to bring that light-hearted comical aspect into it, because all the critics, they always it's too serious, DC, it's too dark, this and that.
Yeah, I mean,
Batman's supposed to be bloody dark. Do you know what I mean? It's not the Dark Knight. It's not supposed to be the bloody comedy night, is it?
Yeah, that's true. But having said that, the Flash is in the DC world, I think he is a more light-hearted character. I mean, maybe not to the like Marvel degrees. He's not like a clown going around. But I think compared But I think compared to Batman and compared to Superman, and from what we've seen so far, I think he is supposed to be a bit of a lighter character.
No, fair enough. Yeah. So that's the problem with my lack of, because I haven't read the comics, and I'm not really sort of. I don't know. I know more about the Marvel comics, I suppose, than I do the DC ones. Even though I do like the characters, but yeah, I don't know a great deal about the Flash, but I do like him. I saw there's a cartoon. is it the Flashpoint Paradox or something like that? It was called. It was
Yes,
really good. I really
that
enjoyed
was
that. It was, and
Yeah, that was a big story, I think, because they on the Flash TV show as well, by the CW at the moment that's out, which I've missed the last season of actually. But yeah, they were doing quite a lot of that in that, where he was going, alternate timelines, alternate worlds.
No,
and
it was
things
really
like
good.
that
Was, but he didn't seem comical in that. He seemed just, I don't know, normal.
Just, yeah.
But no, it was good. I like that. I like the Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another
I
thing. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, I mean, I guess it's just one of those things. We'll have to wait and see, really. It's out in a few weeks, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I think, hopefully, we'll go in. It'll be really good.
To be honest, I'd be very, very surprised if it gets good reviews. I think it's just watching the trailers and things like that. I'm almost not sure how it can be good in a way, if that makes sense. Like, I just reckon it's going to get maybe average reviews. I can't see it getting really good reviews. I just think with the whole like you said about all these characters not really knowing anything about them, and it just looks, when you watch the trailer, it just, once it get, with Man of Steel, everyone was going on about the scene at the end, how it went on too long, there's too much destruction and all that type of thing, and then they bring out Batman versus Superman, and then there's even more destruction in that, probably.
The end of that, yeah. It's
and then with the watching the
yeah.
trailers of this, Justice League, it's almost like there's not going to be any Earth left after. Do you know what I mean? How much more land is there to destroy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got the message. Destructions.
Yeah, that's what they're going for. But then
we're toning it down next time.
But the thing is, if you can't do that in a superhero film, what film can you do it in? I suppose they probably think, well, they might as well just go all out.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah,
so
it'll be interesting. I just feel like there's not been enough setup really for
yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. But then again, okay, then so. Even though it seems quite a lot of negativity, what we're saying about it, but to be honest, I quite enjoyed Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, see, I thought it was okay. I didn't mind it. I thought, there were scenes in it that were quite good, but then, overall, I just thought it was all right, really.
I think I think there's good points and bad points, really, isn't there? Like I said, I like the car. I like the majority of 90% of the cast, I'd say. But Lex Luthor, I didn't like him. I didn't really like. I didn't.
Luthor.
Yeah, he played that. He tried to play the sort of little insane role. Didn't tried to go the approach of a bit sort of
Is he going to be in the Justice League film as well or not?
I don't know. To be honest,
no, I don't know.
But you reminded me of a bit of the Riddler, like Jim Carrey a bit in.
A few people online have said that, actually. They thought he was playing more of the Riddler than he was...
it seemed... I don't know if I like the... To be honest, I'm not really sure if I like him. He looks too boyish. I don't know. He looks... I just don't... I'm not sure about him. But apart from that, I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I thought Ben Affleck was good as Batman.
Yeah,
Amy Adams is a good actor. I think she plays Lois Lane good. And, most of them are good. Actually, I wasn't too fussed about him, really. But I don't know. What's your opinion on him?
Again, it was just so different to what I was used to. Growing up with Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, that's the only interpretation of Lex Luthor that I know of, really.
Yeah.
I watched Smallville. There was, but again, it was so different. They were supposed to be younger, so it was different.
But even Lex Luthor in that, he looked more like you'd think, wouldn't he, in Smallville? It looked more like the sort of Lex Luthor, the sort of traditional Lex Luthor. And to be honest, I suppose I don't mind different interpretations and stuff like that, but I just wasn't too fussed on Jesse Eisenberg, really. I didn't like really the way...
I thought he was okay, but again, I just couldn't... I don't know, I couldn't engage with the film. I just didn't think it was up to much, really.
Yeah, the story was a bit all over the place. I mean, yeah...
And it was a shame because I really wanted to like it as well, because I like DC, I like the films, I like Superman, I like Batman, and I really wanted to like it, but I just kind of thought, it's alright.
I suppose you think they probably could have... The disappointing thing is you probably think they could have done such a better job of it, probably. There's so much more, they could have, I suppose...
Yeah, and I don't quite know what... I think, like I said, I think I would have preferred a Man of Steel 2 with a Bruce Wayne in it, with a little bit of a Batman teaser at the end.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, yeah, I would agree with that as well. I would have preferred that. I think it would have made a better film. But I suppose the reason they did this is because of this Justice League thing. So I sort of suppose I had to accept that and just watch what they made. And
yeah, exactly.
I mean, another thing. What do you think about Doomsday at the end? Like what?
I just thought again. I had exactly the same thoughts with that as I did with Man of Steel. I just felt like it had gone on too long by the point that he came into the film.
It's almost like they've stuffed him in there so they could fight together, isn't it? Like.
Yeah, do you feel it was a bit like a Venom Spider-Man 3 situation going on where he just suddenly appears at the end sort of thing for one kind of battle? But I mean, I suppose
do you reckon they needed that at the end, or like they could have done without an enemy like that?
I suppose the thing is, with those types of characters, they can only really do the one thing, so to warrant a whole film.
No, I agree with that. I think that he couldn't have gone. I think to put him in. What I liked about that is the fact that I think it was enough to have him at the end. I think how would you do that for a whole film? I think. And the way they killed him was true to what I've read. Like the crypt, apparently, because obviously with Doomsday, when you kill him, he comes back stronger, doesn't he, or whatever. But one of the ways apparently they do defeat him in the comics is with kryptonite. So I suppose that's true to and then Superman dies as well, which is actually. Spoiler alert.
That's the same. Not to put that at the beginning. But no, I think they did it right. But I just felt like the runtime on the clock had gone too far for me. It's
just so much to cram in, though, isn't it? So much to cram in, like.
Yeah, I just felt like it was just too. The film was just too long. By the time I got to that point again, I was just like, I'm ready for the film to end now. And then you've got this massive sort of destruction scene, all this fighting going on, and I was just like, oh, it's just.
Here we go again.
You've got to kind of, it's another 10, 15 minutes of this, and again, as a scene on its own, it works, but just not at the end of such a long film and such, the amount of story that they did before it, it's just a bit too much, I think.
Because you asked me the question about what I thought about Batman versus Superman, how was that going to work? Like, how are they going to do that in the film? What did you think? Like, how did you think they were going to?
Yeah, I think I thought as everyone else. Really, there's only one way, isn't there? I think it works well on the page. I think you can, as you read it, I think it works. In a comic form. But I think when you actually see those characters and they're trying to make them exist in a sort of quote unquote real world, I think
what did you think about the reasoning behind why Batman wanted to kill Superman or vice versa? Like, what did you sort of make of that?
I thought it was quite interesting because obviously we know kind of Batman's morals and things like that. So I thought it was good. I thought it was I thought it was enough of a reason, but because obviously there is fear around what he can do and things like that, and so I think they did that quite well, to be honest. I think that was quite a good sort of part of the story. But what they'll do in the next one, for the Justice League, I don't know really. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I just wondering because obviously Superman must come back, obviously. But I think he won't be in a lot of the Justice League film, will he? I don't think he'll probably sort of come back maybe at the end or something like that.
Because he's not been in any of the trailers or anything, so it'd be interesting to see sort of if he just suddenly turns up at the end. I don't know, but yeah, okay, we'll see. Well, that's the end of our first podcast. That wraps it up. Listening to Daryl and Dan, and I guess we'll see you on the next one.